Thumbs up. Yes, again a thumbs up. Thumbs up. I absolutely like it. So thumbs up for tech. So where is normal place for a Guzzi? So this is the V100 Mandello S version, I think. Yeah, it has an S. It's an absolutely stunning bike in my opinion. I really like the design of this bike. It is a bit weird because, as I said, it's really hard to categorize this bike. It's not a sport tourer, it's not a naked bike, it's not a touring bike, it's not an all-road bike, it's just a really beautiful bike. I do hate the look of that big box underneath, but that's due to all the emissions. I like the engine. I have to get used to the grey paint job on the engine. My Moto Guzzis, both my Moto Guzzis had a black paint job and just looks a little bit better. I really like the front of this bike. It's absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful bike. The engine, the gold accents I really like. I do think this bike will be better with some gold wheels. It has full Öhlins suspension, electronically adjusted. I'm looking forward to try this out. So it has the Pirelli Angel GT tires as standard, a really big 190 tire, love it. So it has really good quality tires from the factory. Yeah, it's such a beautiful bike. So we're going to ride it, we're going to test it out. As I said, first impressions. We're going to check the comfort of this bike, we're going to check the engine, suspension, daily things, how to fill it up, normal things. We're gonna check the brakes, of course, we're gonna check the wind protection, overall comfort, and of course really subjectively the looks and the feeling I get out of this bike, because Moto Guzzis are all about feeling, and because this is the first liquid cooled Moto Guzzi, I'm really curious on how this bike will let me feel, because I love my Moto Guzzis, but I do love my air cooled Moto Guzzis, but I do think that this bike will not disappoint. So we're going to start it up. I've tried it a bit, of course. TFT dash, I really like that. So it's in road mode right now. You can change the modes with this button. So it has road, tour, rain, sport and road. So I'm going to try it first in tour mode. I really like the fact you can change modes easily with one push of the button, no holding the button or anything like that. So the electronic suspension should adjust according to the ride mode. This bike is the S version, of course, so it has a lot of features, and we're going to talk about that later, but just let's first start it up. Okay, it's still a Moto Guzzi. So one thing I really like about Moto Guzzi is that they are moving the engine, because it's a transverse V-twin. The engine is moving when you put on the gas, so really like that. It has an electronic ride-by-wire system, so of course it has cruise control, but pickup is really good, and I really like the sound. it really sounds like a Moto Guzzi, and I think even with a better exhaust it will be even better. So I did one thing before I started, and that's navigation. So I downloaded the Moto Guzzi app, turned in my directions, going to an appointment right now, and that's right. So it also has a quick shifter, so that's pretty cool. So first impressions about comfort. I'm around 186 centimeters, and in my opinion it's a perfect ratio. So it's not sporty in any means, it's also not too laid back. It reminds me a little bit of my Ducati Desert X in terms of seating position. So the handlebar is on a really good angle. The seat, yeah, it's not mushy. It's a bit stiff, but I do think that stiff seats will last you longer than the mushy soft seats. There is no vibration. You have an electric windshield, but that doesn't do a lot. But this is the more sporty version. You also have touring windshields and that kind of stuff, so that will change a lot. The mirrors are the standard Moto Guzzi mirrors as I remember them. They're the same on my Moto Guzzi Grigio and also the same on my 12 on the Sport, so that's pretty cool. I will change them on this kind of bike because I don't like the looks of the mirrors. They're a bit standard. But yeah, in terms of comfort, my first impressions are that's pretty good. I think you could really do some mileage on this bike. And because I'm in touring mode right now, the suspension is a little bit softer, but that means it's a little bit more comfortable. And yeah, I really like it. So first impressions on comfort, thumbs up. So first impressions on power. It really feels like a Moto Guzzi. So it has a lot of torque. It sounds like a Moto Guzzi. You feel that the engine is alive. There's one thing that I was scared of, and that was the fact that because it's water cooled it would lose its character, its Moto Guzzi character, but this bike, yeah, still has a lot of character. And this is the first Moto Guzzi with a quick shifter, and man oh man, I really like that. I really like the fact that this bike has a quick shifter. So engine has more than enough torque, and I think it's even fast enough. Oh, this bike is awesome. It really is awesome. Yeah, I like the engine. So engine, again, thumbs up. So handling wise, first impressions, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but are also, as expected, really good and really Moto Guzzi like. So it's not the most light bike in the world, but so it's not the most light bike in the world, but because of that it is really stable in the long corners, in the long turns, and because of the really good tires, and of course 17-inch on both the front and the rear, means that you have a really nimble bike. But it is absolutely confidence inspiring. I think, if I'm honest, that the handling is a bit of a mix between the Moto Guzzi 12 on the Sport I have and good suspension, and the Moto Guzzi Grigio. So the Grigio is a little bit more catered towards long turns, and this one is, and the 1200 Sport, sorry, is more nimble than the Guzzi. So this is a really good mix between the two. I absolutely like it. So suspension is in touring mode, of course, right now. But suspension, I'm riding on small cobblestones. It's not the most comfortable road to ride, but it's really good to test the suspension. I think the suspension is a bit on the sporty side, but if you look at the range of sport touring, I think this is a lot more sport orientated. I think the suspension is a bit on the sporty side, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's really good, but it's, of course, it's not a GS or an adventure bike with a really mushy and plush suspension, but it really suits the bike, and I think it's more than comfortable. I think it's I'm sorry to say, but it is again a thumbs up. I really like it. So my first impressions on tech. This bike is filled with a lot of features. Of course, it's a Moto Guzzi, and Moto Guzzis are not known for their tech, but this bike has more tech than you can ever wish for. It has almost everything except a radar, and that's not a thing that I really like on motorcycles. But it has the standard things like heated grips, a TFT dash, navigation if you use your phone, cruise control because it has ride-by-wire, riding modes, electronic suspension, ABS, cornering ABS, all kinds of ABS variations on that. It has an electronic adjustable windshield. The menu is quite clear. It has a learning curve, but it's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just a thing you need to know. So you can adjust the heated grips, you can adjust the windshield like this. So this button. That's pretty cool. So it has a TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system, so that's also pretty cool. You can do some phone calls with it, play music on your speakers, of course. If you connect it to your phone, you have voice control, cool, but I think that's in conjunction with your phone. And of course, trip meter, fuel meter, gear indicator, quick shifter, and a really cool thing that I wanted to show you. Let's see how it works. You need to change riding modes for that. The winglets, look at this. I think this is the first bike ever to have winglets like this, and I'm really curious if this helps. I will test it in a full review, of course, but it looks cool. It really looks cool. So the winglets are adjusted in menu. They are dependable on the speed you ride. So let's say around 30 they will enable, and at around 50 they will enable, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, really like it. So in terms of tech, I think this bike has more than enough, and it's a really technological, advanced bike. Like it. So thumbs up for tech. I'm really curious how this bike will perform on the highway. I think it will perform pretty good. I do think the wind protection with this screen isn't good enough to do a lot of highway miles, I think, but on a warm, hot day I think it's pretty nice. In my opinion, I will change the windscreen for a little bit bigger one. So let's see how it rides. sorry for the wind noise, but I do think this bike is perfect for a long distance traveling. Oh, absolutely love it. So, cruise control works fine. One thing that I do need to mention, that it changing the speed, you're not seeing what speed you set the cruise control on, so that means that you don't have any change. So changing the speed on cruise control, it's a bit not weird, but you can't see at which speed you set the cruise control, so you have no little inclinations of like 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers or anything like that. But yeah, it has cruise control, it works fine, but it could be a little bit better. The more I'm riding this bike, the more I'm beginning to think that I should sell my Moto Guzzi Grigio and buy this Moto Guzzi. And that's not a good thing, because this bike is a lot more expensive than my Moto Guzzi Grigio. But yeah, it's so tempting to do, so I'm going to think about it. The thing that the Moto Guzzi Grigio has and this bike doesn't is the rawness, less refined style of Moto Guzzis. Air-cooled, simple technology, no ABS, no traction control, not anything. So that is a big difference, of course. But yeah, it's a thing to think about, because I like it a lot.